welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Rachel, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I read in the month of March. So, unfortunately, besties, March kind of was a flop for me. I did still read 10 books, which is great. It's not really about the quantity of books that I read, although I definitely could have read more this month. I unfortunately fell into a cute little reading slump, which sucked. And I also just had like a lot of life stuff going on, so I just was not able to accomplish as much as I had hoped in the month of March. That is okay, but this month's wrap up will probably be a little bit shorter. I will say though, I am walking away from this month having read a new all-time Hall of Fame tattoo this book on my body favorite. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm excited to share with you all what I read this month and how I feel. So let's get straight into it. These are the 10 books that I read in the month of March. So the first book that I wanted to talk about is The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the second book in the Inheritance Games trilogy, and this is a YA mystery series. It follows kind of a Knives Out storyline where our main character is a teenage girl sort of down on her luck, and then a random billionaire in Texas ends up leaving her most of his fortune. So then her and his grandchildren have to find out, why did he do this? What connection does she have to this family? And they kind of go through these riddles and a bit of a treasure hunt and all of that. And I read the first book in November, and it was really fun. It wasn't amazing by any means, but I did have a good time with it. So when I did a 24-hour readathon this month, I figured the second book would be a good one to pick up. I did unfortunately give this book a 2.5-star rating. It was fine, but I liked it a little bit less than the first one, and this book just does not leave any imprint on me. It was perfectly okay. I didn't totally hate it, but I just felt that some of the shenanigans that I rolled my eyes at in the first book, I found like a little bit less tolerable, I guess, in this book. I don't know, I'm not mad at this book, but I'm just not really obsessed. So I gave it a 2.5 star. I am going to finish the trilogy though. There's only one more book, and these are such quick reads, so this was perfectly fine. But yeah, 2.5 stars. So the next book for my March wrap up is going to be Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier. This is a rom-com, and it's sort of like enemies to lovers. Our two main characters have known each other for a while, have never gotten along, and then they end up kind of having to be thrown together because he is the best man in their friend's wedding, and then she is the maid of honor. So they go through a lot of forced proximity shenanigans and then end up falling for one another. I ended up giving this book a 3.5-star rating. It was really sweet and really cute. I also really liked some of the subplots with our characters. Our female main character is a baker, and then our male main character is a music producer. I liked those aspects. I think that it just made the characters more well-rounded. They had a really amazing group of friends and family, and they just brought so much joy and life to this book. I will say, as far as the romance goes, it was good. It didn't totally blow me away, but I think that this is like a solid romance, very cute, and yeah, I'm glad that I read this one. All right, next up is going to be Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This is the first book in the Wayward Children series, which is, I think it's technically adult fantasy, and this whole series kind of follows the idea of what happens to those children in fairy tales once they come back from the magical worlds that they have visited. So the idea of what happens to Lucy when she comes back out of the wardrobe and tries to live her life, or Alice when she comes back through the looking glass after she's had this amazing adventure. So those specific characters are not referenced in here, but it kind of follows that idea. And there is this home that all of these children who have gone through these magical portals, through these magical doors, they come back and they're just never the same and don't really know how to adjust to life, and so there's a school for them to kind of help them transition, or just to stay there if they are not able to find happiness in the real world. I think that the idea for this series is so fantastic and unique. This writing style was really beautiful. I felt transported right away. I just thought that there was a lot of whimsy and magic and just fairy tale style feel with this book. It is a very short book. I also read this during our 24-hour readathon, and I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I was touched by a lot of the quotes in this book. I am really intrigued to continue on with it, and I just think that it was a super solid fantasy, and I have no complaints. I think that this book is really cool, and I'm really excited to continue on with this series. And the next book is going to be The Call of the Void by S.M. Gaither. This is the third book in the Shadows and Crowns series, which is a new adult fantasy romance series. This series follows a mercenary who lives in a kingdom that has been plagued by the sickness. She is one of the few people to have survived it, and she kind of gets enlisted by the monarchy to investigate what is going on with the sickness and also if the gods are involved. She ends up sort of begrudgingly teaming up with the very grumpy captain of the guard, and the two of them have this kind of enemies to lovers dynamic. This is the third book, as I said, so I won't talk too much about what happens in this book, but I did give this book 3 stars. So I gave the first book 5 stars, the second book 4 stars, and now the third book 3 stars, which I am not happy about, but I am just finding myself not super engaged with this series as it goes on. I really liked the first book, and I liked the build-up, I liked the romance. I just feel feel like the plot in this book has lost steam for me. I'm just not as connected to it anymore. I do love our characters. There's a really great found family aspect to this book. I really do like Cassia and Elander. I don't find their romance as interesting, of course, as I did sort of earlier on in the series, but I do still like them and I do still root for them, and I am, you know, excited by them and the side characters, but the plot is just, I don't know. I just am finding myself caring less and less as I go on, and that makes me really, really sad, because I do think that a fantasy romance, even after the couple gets together, you can still have like a really solid plot and you can still have really exciting aspects that keep a reader intrigued. I just don't really think that for me, that's happening with this series. I am going to continue on with the series though. There's only 2 more books and I do want to see how it all ends, but unfortunately this was a little bit of a disappointment. All right, the next book, a part of my March wrap up, is going to be The Neighbor Favor by Christina Forrest. Guys, I love this book so much. It was so freaking cute. This book just brought me so much joy, so happy, so wholesome, and I just had such a good time reading it. So this book follows our main character Lily. She is a bit of a bookworm and she enlists the help of her very charming neighbor to help her find a date for her sister's wedding, but the 2 of them definitely fight an attraction to each other. The reason that they cannot be together though is because they've actually been anonymously communicating online, because he is actually one of her favorite authors and she does not realize that, as he uses a pen name, and those online conversations kind of ended in a bit of a negative way, so he does not want to reveal his true identity because he thinks that Lily will hate him and not want him in her life anymore. I just absolutely connected to our characters pretty much right away. They're both introverts and they're both bookish, and they talk a lot about different fantasy novels, which I thought that was really cool, just little bits of homage to the fantasy genre as I read this. I really, really loved Lily's family, and I'm so excited because she has 2 sisters, and the whole time I was reading this book I was like, please tell me that we're gonna get books on the sisters, and you do find out at the end that the next book is about her sisters. So I'm very much looking forward to continuing on with this series. I love their family, I love the humor in this book, and I just think that their relationship was really, really cute. I gave this a 4-star rating. There is like a little bit of spice. It is the same level of spice that like Emily Henry writes, I would say, so if you are curious about that. And I just think that this is like a super cute, pick this up on like a sunny day when you just want to feel happiness and joy. So really, really like this book, and I'm so excited to read more from this author. All right, and then I did a little bit of a reading experiment this month. I decided to read 4 books that were out of my comfort zone. I had a really, really great time doing that. I do have a vlog for that if you would like to see more of my process and thoughts as I was reading these books, but I will very quickly go through these 4 books that I read for that vlog. Number 1 is going to be If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I feel like so many people know this book. It is a dark academia book. It follows a group of Shakespearean actors. One of them dies, and we kind of follow the storyline of what happened from the future. One of our characters kind of looks back on everything that happened and tells us the story. The writing in this book is so beautiful and wonderful. We had a really interesting and flawed group of characters. I loved their dynamic. I loved seeing kind of the positive and negative aspects of all of their relationships, and this book definitely does center a bit on obsession and competition, which are just 2 themes that I find very interesting in books and TV and movies and all of that. So I absolutely loved this book. I loved how this book ended. I thought it was so, so clever, and yeah, this is just really, really solid. I gave this book 4 stars, and I'm very excited for the future adaptation of this. And then another book that I read for that video is going to be Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. This book is literary fiction with a touch of horror, and it follows a couple. It follows Miri and Leah. So Leah is a marine biologist, and she goes on a submarine excursion, and the vessel actually ends up sinking to the bottom of the ocean. When she comes back from this very traumatic experience, her wife Miri just notices that she is acting very different, very strange, and she just feels that her wife is not the same person that she was before she went on this trip. It is dual POV, but we mostly are in Miri's POV as she watches her wife's strange behavior and tries to make sense of it all. What I absolutely loved and really, really connected to about this book was, number 1, really gorgeous writing. It is, you know, kind of literary fiction in that way, and there's some really amazing quotes. But one of the most like tragic and beautiful parts of this book was Miri would, you know, reflect on her relationship with Leah and how they fell in love, and just all these little moments in their past that have brought them to this point, and just how beautiful it was and how sad it was to just watch the person that you love slowly disappear. I have heard now 2 different interpretations of this book other than the straightforward interpretation. Number 1, this book could kind of be a metaphor for just when one person in the relationship is totally checked out, has given up, and sort of just watching the demise of your relationship right in front of your eyes. I have also seen people say that this could be a metaphor for when one person in a relationship is suffering from dementia, and that's just another extremely heartbreaking take on this book, but I do absolutely see where people get that, and I think that this is so well written and really beautiful, world, but also just like, it pulled at my heartstrings. It really did. I think that their relationship is so beautiful and so lovely. And just seeing little glimpses of what their life was like before this was so wonderful, but also just so sad because you know where things have ended up. And yeah, I loved this book. I thought it was so gorgeous. The ending of this book is pretty strange, pretty open-ended, but I just think that this is such a strong and unique story. One of the most unique books that I've ever read in my life. I think I gave this book like a 4.5 star rating. It is so incredible, and it is a book that I find myself thinking about even after I have finished it. And the next book that I wanted to talk about is Notes on an Execution by Dania Kafka. So this is a slow burn mystery. We sort of lead up to a death row inmate's execution, but his story is told through the perspective of 3 women's lives who he affected. So his former sister-in-law, his mother, and the homicide detective who was integral in getting him arrested. This book was really interesting. I think once again, it's a unique take on sort of just like a profile on a serial killer. And I did find some parts of this book extremely hard to read. I do applaud this author's writing style and just writing capability to really pull emotions from me that really leapt off the page as I was reading this. There is a bit of a literary fiction writing style to this book as well. I do think that it is beautifully written. I did enjoy my time reading this book, and I do think that I gained something from doing it, but I gave this a 3.5 star rating. Particularly for me, the first part of the book was just a lot stronger than the second half. I just wasn't as engaged or affected as the book went on. You know, when the POVs of all these different characters started, I was really intrigued. I thought that they were all interesting and different, and they felt very real and very visceral. But as time went on, I don't know, I just think that the novel lost steam for me, but I totally understand why people like this book so much. This was pretty good and a solid 3.5 star rating. Okay, and then the final book that I read for that video, oh my God, I am in love with this book. I'm in love with this book. This is the highlight of my month. I know that I gave Every Heart a Doorway 5 stars, but like this is my most standout 5 star of the month and one of the most standout books that I've read this year so far, and that is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is a sci-fi novel, and I think that this book is really good to go into with very little knowledge, because when you follow our main character, they wake up out of a coma and they have absolutely no idea where they are, what's going on, why they are where they are. And I think learning alongside our main character what is going on and why he's there is really fun. So I will just say the tagline on the back is a lone astronaut, an impossible mission, and an ally he never imagined. So that is all that I knew going into this book, and I had no idea what a ride I was in for. This is genuinely one of the best books I have ever read in my entire life. Absolutely want to reread this in the future. Absolutely a book that I will think about for the rest of my life, I think. Like, it really affected me, and I just have those books that I read sometimes that are like 5-star, incredible, amazing books that have just really imprinted themselves on my soul, and Project Hail Mary is getting added to that list. And it amazes me that a sci-fi book, a book about an astronaut, could do that, but there's just something special in this book, you guys. I don't know, I was so emotionally gripped and attached to these characters and this story. Rocky, I literally want to tear up thinking about Rocky. I read this book like 2 weeks ago. I love Rocky more than anything. Rocky deserves all the rights. Rocky deserves all the protection. Okay, I have been thinking about the scene, and this is completely context free. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but the scene where something really good happens and they want to celebrate. So Rocky goes and puts on like his fancy clothes. Oh my God, I have been thinking about that scene over and over again. That is so cute. Oh my God, this book is perfection to me. I have no notes. This book is literal perfection. It is one of those books that I think is for anyone and everyone. I think anyone could like this book. I really don't think it matters what your preferences are for reading. I truly encourage everyone to pick this book up, and please listen to the audiobook, not only because the audiobook narrator does such an incredible job narrating. He is acting, you guys. He is an actor when he is reading this audiobook. So much inflection, so much performance, and just amazing. But also there are some space sounds that if you were just reading the book, I think would make absolutely no sense, but hearing them in the audiobook, it's amazing. It's literally, this book is a cinematic experience. And also, I mentioned this in my vlog, I was like, this needs to get turned into a movie. It is. Ryan Gosling has picked up this movie, picked up the rights for it. He is going to be, I believe, directing and starring in it. So he's gonna star as our main character, and I love Ryan Gosling so much. There is like no news on when this is getting made, but Ryan Gosling is tied to it. Please read this book. It is so incredible and just truly one of the best books I've ever read. Alrighty, so the very last book that I was able to squeeze in the month of March is Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. Now, I am in the middle of my Infernal Devices vlog. It is coming. That video was supposed to already be out, but life, as it tends to do, happened. So I'm still working on that, but that will be the next video that you guys see after this one. I am in the middle of Clockwork Prince right now, so I'm not going to talk through a lot of my thoughts with Clockwork Angel because I want you guys to watch the vlog. I want you guys to see my process, but I mean, my rating is already on Goodreads, so like, if you follow me on Goodreads, you already know I gave this book 4 stars. I enjoyed it, and you guys should look out for my Infernal Devices vlog. That'll be coming this week. All right, friends, so those are the 10 books that I read in the month of March. I would love to hear what was the best book that you read in the month of March. What book just absolutely blew you away, or what was your favorite for the month? If you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, let's leave like a flower emoji because today is April 1st and I am so ready for spring. I'm so ready for sunshine and flowers and happiness. So go ahead and leave any flower emoji. Make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. Both are always linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you are having a fantastic day. I love you all so, so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.